My name is Mark Kasperzik. I'm the conservation agent for the town of Falmouth. I'm here with Karen Gallagher from Mass Fish and Wildlife. You have received an executive summary of the prescribed burn that we're offering to show you. So just through the Mashpee National Wildlife Refuge Memorandum of Understanding that the Selectmen and the Conservation Commission signed a couple of years ago, we've been partnering with a number of governmental agencies to accomplish a lot of ecological goals through pooling natural resources, so pooling our resources. So one such goal is to conduct prescribed burns at the Coonamessett Reservation fields to maintain the rare sandplain grassland habitat where there are rare birds and plants. So Karen is here to briefly describe the prescribed burn plan, which would be conducted by Mass Fish and Wildlife Service. And this is something the town of Falmouth could take advantage of, which is similar to what's been done over at the Crane Wildlife Management area for years. So, Karen?
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Would you advance that as we go along? This spring, we actually revised our prescribed burn plan for the Crane Wildlife Management area, and the town asked us to consider, the Conservation Commission and Mark asked us to consider including a portion of the Coonamessett fields in the reservation. So we included, if you go to the next slide, we included this 11-acre piece on the northern part of the reservation within the plan, and that area had previously burned in the 1990s, and it was burned as a cooperative project between Mass Fish and Wildlife and the National Park Service, and there was about a 10-acre piece in the area that we included within the plan. We also included within this particular plan the 330 acres that you see to the north of Route 151, and some of those are burn units that are 20 acres, some are 50 acres, and so there's a variety of different habitats in there, including grasslands and the 11 acres that's included in the northern part of the town property. You can move to the next slide, that would be great. I'm going to go through this really quickly. So it would just be that 11 acres that's included in this plan. If the town's interested in including more of the area to the south, where they're having some additional habitat restoration done right now, we could do that in future years. Next slide. And as Mark said, we are primarily burning to support sandplain grasslands and coastal heathlands, and those communities are habitat for a number of rare species. There are as many as 7 rare species that occur on the reservation itself, and on Francis Crane there are over 30 rare plants and animals, and prescribed fire, we know, supports many of those and improves habitat for them. So that's why we burn out there. That's really important. And many of you have seen the butterfly weed at Coonamessett Reservation. Well, that little moth that you see right above it is a state-threatened moth that is only found on that butterfly weed, and it's found at Coonamessett Reservation, and it's found at Francis Crane, and then there are a variety of other species like the grasshopper sparrow. Next. And so, you know, we do burn. Why we burn? We burn for rare and uncommon species to improve their habitat. You have to click the next button, and it enhances habitat for a number of game species, and then supports the globally rare communities, the grasslands and heathlands, and enhances recreational opportunities. It helps us maintain vistas, decrease the number of shrubs and trees. For a short while, it controls ticks, not for very long, but it helps. And then, you know, more importantly, it reduces wildfire risk and increases public safety. So those are our main reasons for burning, just to emphasize that. Burning is resource intensive. It takes really specialized staff, equipment, and expertise to get it done. So when we burn, we always do it cooperatively. We work very closely with DCR, fire districts. We work closely with the National Park Service, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, because it's quite expensive and you need specialized expertise to do that. So I think you need to click the button again. And we're trying to manage land across landscapes. So burning at Coonamessett really helps us manage habitat at Crane Wildlife Management Area as well. So that's really important to work across property lines and support each other that way. The burn plan itself, it follows a really strict national standard. It meets these national standards and it's approved by the National Wildfire Coordinating Group. And it outlines what permits and notifications we need. It, next Mark, it has separate little places where we need approvals and signatures. And if the town actually supports this, there are 3 places within the plan that the town would sign, where we have signed also, that says that you agree to, the procedures that we're following for burning, which include the permits for air quality and include the fire department permits, all of those. Next. And the most important thing about this plan is that it provides the town the opportunity to have our technical preparer and reviewer who meet those national qualifications. We provide those resources for you by presenting this plan for you. Next. And as I said, we look at really strict guidelines and we look at all the laws and regulations. In order to burn, we have to get an air quality permit from DEP. And the DEP permit requires that we put in a request every year. So that 11 acres would be included in our request. So you would be covered when you're ready to burn at Coonamessett Reservation, and then a local fire department permit. So Chief Small is very familiar with the work that we're doing, and we contact him before we're doing any burns and coordinate with others. And there are no wetlands in these particular areas that we're burning, but if there were, we would get those permits as well. The plan has 21 elements. It covers site preparations and complexity, ignitions and holding, and most importantly for us, especially because we're right near Route 151, is really good planning for smoke and air quality management so we can avoid any safety hazards in those areas. And we also keep really detailed record keeping so that after we burn, you would get complete records of what happened, where it happened, how effective it was. This is a typical hierarchy of how we conduct our burns. There are usually at least 8 people on any prescribed burn. There's a qualified burn boss, then there are holding crews and ignition crews. So it's a very complex process. And go ahead, Mark, I think. And so before burning can happen, we actually need that agency administrator to sign the burn that says they know that we have followed these procedures. And the fire program manager, I'm the fire program manager for Mass Wildlife, so I make sure all the plans, all the T's, are crossed and all the I's are dotted before we do any burning internally. And then the fire planner has to be recognized with national standards, and the plan has to be reviewed by a technical person. So these are all standard procedures that we follow. This is actually a prescribed burn on Crane South at the Crane Wildlife Management Area, and you can see there's it's a very orderly process. The burn occurs, we have fire breaks, there's crew that's stationed over here, there are fire trucks on the other side, and it's a very orderly process. And
Is there a financial requirement from the town?
there is not.
Thank you.
And actually, the plan is, a typical plan would cost between $4,000 to $8,000. But we were preparing our plan for the area to the north, so it really didn't cost us much more to include that.
Thank you.
Sure. And as I said before, there are lots of notifications that are made, and we work very closely with the fire department and the conscom and the town manager. Before we would do any burning, we would send out notifications at least a month in advance to make sure everyone was on board and knew what we were doing. And I didn't mention this, but for a grassland or a heathland, the general rotation would be every 3 to 5 years that you would burn a parcel of land. So it's not like we're burning the same area, every year or every 2 years. And the plan itself is approved generally it's approved for a 5-year period. And I think that, we work really closely with the district fire wardens, and Josh Nigro is the district fire warden here. He's very familiar with Coonamessett. I think he's been involved with some of the land clearing on the area to the south of this area that we plan for. And again, Mass DEP air quality as well. And we, we're really careful about letting neighbors know what's happening and work fairly closely and sending out press releases and notifying landowners. Is there anything else we need to mention, Mark? I think that's it for me, if you have any questions.
Any questions from the board? Doug?
I have one question. Do you do any kind of preliminary, walk through and take out the turtles or anything like that? I noticed you had a picture of a turtle.
We do. Usually, if we know we have a unit that we're going to burn, we'll go through the morning of the burn, and we have to do a walkthrough and with the crew. And actually, sometimes we'll take 2 or 3 out and remove them, and then put them back after we're done.
After it cools down?
Yeah, we usually put them in the grasslands where they have cover adjacent to the area that we burn, because,
Thank you very much.
I know it's effective because I've read that some of these most rare butterflies are only found on military installations because they're always doing these prescribed burns, very organized.
Many rare plants like that also.
Wow.
Great. Thank you so much.
Very good. Excellent
You're welcome.
presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for hanging in.
Now, there is an action required before the board is whether to authorize the town manager to execute the prescribed fire plan.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Approved.
Madam
Next.
Chair, could I just interject how much
Yes.
I appreciate Karen and Mark met with me in advance of this meeting, and their thoughtful presentation and bringing this to the board. I know it is a time-sensitive matter. I just want to acknowledge Mark's hard work and his colleague Jennifer in getting to this point. I know he's been, I understand from the meeting that we had, that he'd been working on this area on this approach for some time, and the fact that he's able to partner with our colleague at the state here, Karen, on the crane wildlife, the larger issue, is really extraordinary and greatly to the town's benefit. So I just wanted to applaud their efforts and the great teamwork, and thank the board for your willingness to support that as well.
Good.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have some interviews. First, we have the Board of Health. We have 2 vacancies, both with terms June 30, 2020, and 2 applicants, Emily Michelle Olmsted, Kevin Kroger, who's Emily? Kevin. Emily, do you want to go first? And then Kevin. Welcome. So why are you interested in the Board of Health?
I'm just interested in current events, and I currently work with Innovative Alternative Septic Systems from Barnstable County, and many of the Board of Health meetings that I've been to so far have a lot to do with septic issues, and so I'd like to provide some insight if I can.
Great.
Great. Questions from the board?
No, I don't.
No,
Thrilled.
great
I saw
resume.
You provided your resume, and it's
Great.
excellent.
You've already been
Excellent
endorsed by
references.
your own board.
Really terrific resume.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. Given the late hour, we're going to be easy on you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Kevin, if you would. Thank you.
Got 10 questions for Kevin, by the way.
Kevin gets no benefit.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Kevin Kroger. I've been a resident here in Falmouth for about 20 years, and I work at the U.S. Geological Survey, and I've been at some of the other science institutions around in Woods Hole as well. And I study groundwater pollution, a significant part of my effort, and so I think I could use that expertise to help the Board of Health.
Great.
Sounds appropriate.
Great. What is the board's pleasure? Thank you very much.
I move we appoint both candidates to the positions that,
Terms ending June 30th of 2020?
yes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thank
staying
you.
this late.
Thanks for your
Appreciate it. Great
endurance.
job. Next, we have for bikeways, Ed Roan was going to, is
Ted Rowan,
applied
yeah.
Ted Rowan,
Yeah.
and he is not here, so we're going to reschedule to July 31st.
This is not a regulatory commission, so we do not need to, we're not required to interview him.
You know, he's a,
Do folks know him?
yeah, he's been on the bikeways forever.
So is there a motion?
I move that we appoint Ted Rowan to a term ending in June 30th of 2020 to the Bikeways Committee.
Yes, second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good idea.
Thank you.
Yes, Ted is just, he's an institution in this town.
Next, the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, 4 positions available, all 4 with terms until June 30, 2020. 4 applicants, Alan Robinson, Christopher Poloni, Jonathan Schneider, and Mark Finneran.
My other question on that is that by having 4 of them on that term, I think that there may be a mistake there because it doesn't create the 3-year rotation. It means that we're having 2 terms ending June 2019, 1 ending 2018, and 4 ending 2020.
And I thought that when we first had this issue come before us a few meetings ago, that there were some different dates that were put out. So, I mean, certainly all these individuals are qualified. I think we need to determine which term, I mean, 3 of them are already incumbents. We spoke with Mr. Robinson. He came and was interviewed and seemed very qualified. I think
Schneider and Finneran are incumbents.
and Mr. Poloni
And
is
Mr.
as
Poloni
well.
is as well.
Yes, all 3 are and
So-
have
Oh,
served.
hold on here, so let's see.
I would make a change into, I would move that we appoint Christopher Bologna, Jonathan Snyder, and Mark Finneran to terms ending June 30th, 2020, and Mr. Robinson to a term ending June 30th, 2019, just so we have a little bit of...
Some staggering.
Right.
Right.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I meant 2018, though. It'd be a one-year
got
term,
that.
just so. Okay.
Thank
You
you.
got that?
And then,
Jennifer? Amendment, thank you.
Thank
Great.
you. Makes sense.
It does make sense. Next, we have the affirmation of the American Legion appointment to the Veterans Council Committee.
Move approval?
Second?
All those in favor?
aye.
And next, we have the affirmation of the Recreation Committee appointment to the Community Preservation Committee.
So
I
that-
see that Mr. Brown is here.
Yes, thank you. Do you want to say a word or two since you've hung out this long?
And while he's coming up, he's been attending the CPC meetings for the last several months.
I knew it was going to be a long evening when I saw my friends, Attorney Carchidi and Attorney Rapp here.
Absolutely.
An interesting evening. I have big shoes to fill with Sandy Cooney, and
Yes.
I look forward to working on the Community Preservation Committee.
Okay, thank you. Move approval to a term ending 6/30/2019.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Next, we have a Recreation Committee appointment to CPC.
Nope.
No, no,
Oops,
it's
did I
Golf
skip
Advisory
that?
Committee.
Golf Advisory Committee.
Oh, how does it?
Finance Committee.
Oh, I'm sorry,
I know, it's
it's getting late. Golf Advisory Committee from FinCom,
From Keith Schwagel.
yes.
I move approval. He's been on Finance Committee. Keith is a great guy. It'll be a wonderful addition to the Golf Advisory Committee.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Let's see, next we have a request for a sign variance for Compassionate Care ALS, off-premise fundraising sign for proposed education and retreat center.
Move approval.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have approve sign variance request, East Falmouth Village Association off-premise informational sign for annual meeting on July 20, 2017.
There was a little issue, though. When I put in the email request, I
Yeah.
requested, so this is our standard that we do every year, is these three.
Yep.
But this year I requested a fourth one at the other end of Davisville, but didn't show up in the, on the agenda.
List?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion to include that in the request?
I would, it was in my original request, in my
I so
original
moved.
email.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
What time is that meeting?
You have to recuse yourself.
Oh, okay, I didn't vote for that.
7 o'clock usually. 7 o'clock.
Yeah, July 20th, 7 o'clock, East Falmouth School.
Great.
Thank
And next, we have a sign variance request for St. Barnabas Episcopal Church on-premises promotional sign for Lobster on the Lawn.
Move approval?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. And next we have approved request for sign variance, John Wesley United Methodist Church, on-premise promotional sign, spaghetti dinner, rummage sale, and Christmas fair.
Move approval, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Passed. And next we have individual selectmen report. Just kind of want to make just a mention that I was, just came from the Commodores game. They thanked the town for the participation with respect to their building, which is terrific. It's got really great announcement area upstairs, lots of storage. There were lots of kids who were enjoying it, exactly. Also, I attended with Representative Vieira's request, an informal meeting with the 4 chairs of Bourne, Mashpee, Sandwich, and Falmouth, really just discussing the bike path and making sure that all the boards had all the information that they needed and were giving their fellow board members the opportunity to, hear the concerns of the Bikeways Committee and also to look at the Upper Cape Transfer Station in conjunction with the bike path and the options that were in front of, that are now in front of this board and have been a couple of times. Doug?
I just want to report that I attended the Beach Committee's opening meeting and their kickoff where they introduce all their leaders of the season, and it's almost like Baywatch. They're really organized and it seemed like a really motivated group. The meeting before the initiation, though, there was some concerns. It was kind of a last-minute scramble to get ready, and it seems like they should maybe somehow, we should try to somehow get a little more advanced support from the DPW with regarding the grading of the parking lots. And the other thing is that the beaches, we got to really think about the dredging. It's not a beach committee thing per se, but it's something that they're dealing with, is the one side of all these channels, especially at Minot, it's very visible there. The one side is nourished, but the other side is not, because the sand is going out and clogging the channel. So I also attended the the Coastal Resiliency Action Committee meeting, and I think maybe I was a little overbearing, but I was saying I wish they would consider asking for the town to fund a dredge, because I think that our beach nourishment policy is a result of the fear of not being able to get a dredge. So we don't want to nourish both sides of the channel because we're afraid that we're not going to be able to get the channel clear. But maybe we could go in with some other town or share the cost, or maybe the county can get another dredge. Something has to be done so we don't live in fear and have this policy that's born out of fear. That's the way I see it.
Well,
Good point.
with respect to your county suggestion, the Leo Kahunas has sent a summary, and you can get it on the website, and Mr. Suso is going to be bringing it soon to the agenda for the board to look at what does Falmouth want and need from the county. So that would be your number one.
The biggest problem is, though, we don't know what we need till we need it, and then it's a long wait. So we're always
So in
behind.
other words, if there was another county dredge, there wouldn't be such a long wait.
or maybe we should look into a private option when we're in a pinch and get a plan in place for dredging on the fly. I mean, we're just so regulated and so bound by these conditions that we're having to deal with. We can't get anything done. We had a problem going at the Great Pond Channel.
Yep, that
Green
was,
Pond Channel.
that
I
was
mean,
done quickly when Mr. Suso jumped into action. There was a little bit of an issue that came up, and that was
Right.
quickly resolved.
Part of it was
but-
maybe because we were lucky that they had left their dredging hose on Minot for so long that they felt guilty and helped us out. I don't know, but.
Don't know what the motivator was. Sam?
Yeah, the only one I want to point out is, again, attended a couple of the meetings of the Tony Andrews Working Group. It's sort of a subset of the Agricultural Commission, and they're making some good progress. We actually had a meeting with Julian to kind of try to connect the two entities together. I know the working group was concerned that they weren't getting feedback on discussions with the Andrews family. So they're waiting for that purchase and sale agreement to finally be finalized, so they can see where they can pick up.
It was too, by the way.
Oh, it was?
was.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
got
So
that
we can get
today.
a copy of that for their purposes. They very much want to see what it is, because they're trying to figure out how to work it around any conditions or leases that might be a part of it.
Ms.
That's
Braga?
it.
Just briefly, so much has happened since our last meeting. So many great town events, the book fair, the fireworks,
Yes.
4th of July in general, which was really beautiful. So just a big thank you to all of the town employees that, it was a very smooth weekend. I think it was successful for a lot of our businesses. It's exactly what we want to see. Also, just a recognition, this is going a ways back, but again, our meetings, our last meeting wasn't a full meeting, but just a big thank you to all the folks who helped the Memorial Day celebration to occur, particularly Don Lincoln and Julie Kramer, all of the volunteers who assist, again, DPW, Falmouth Fire Department, Police Department, to make that a really meaningful event for our community this year. It was pouring rain and it still had wonderful attendance. So, just nice to see the community resources being used in a way that I think promotes what a wonderful community Falmouth is, and opening it up for other people to experience that. So, big thank you to everyone.
Absolutely. Doug?
I attended a meeting of a group that's interested in maintaining the dome structure in Woods Hole, and it's just their initial status meeting to try to figure out what it could become and how to save it.
And I just want to quickly mention, as we get to Mr. Suso, the really incredible responsiveness to the questions about when the delayed trash pickup was going to resume, and their questions were answered, fairly immediately, and that plan did proceed as the company was, requested to get to it quickly, and Mr. Suso did handle that, and it worked out pretty well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just piggybacking on that a bit, since I haven't been out to see what the conclusion was this evening by Allied and Republic on their pickup, but as you've indicated, we understood that with the enormous number of people in the community over the 4th of July past week, it provided a major challenge for Allied and Republic, but that was multiplied because of the fact that on Friday, as we know from the heavy rain event, they were not able to collect trash during that event and were delayed in doing so because of some of the temporary flooding. So it was really a double whammy in terms of the total volumes and the loss of, I would say, perhaps half a day on Friday. So as we know, the Saturday pickups that normally would have covered west and north Falmouth were not completed. There were also some areas in East Falmouth that were missed. And so, as we indicated on the website, Allied committed some additional vehicles to completing those missed routes beginning today. And I guess I'm hoping that after this meeting concludes, I'm able to confirm that they were able to cover the balance of the community that should have been picked up last week. There was also the chance, which is likely, that those routes that would be picked up today, A few of them may be delayed, but Allied has assured us that any of those that were delayed and normally have a Monday pickup will be completed by the end of the workday tomorrow. So for anybody listening who may have been on a route scheduled for today and the trash has not been picked up, that is the story there. They just needed that additional buffer time to complete tomorrow. So we appreciate their help with that. Also, Madam Chair and members of the board, I was asked to give a little bit of an update, which I'm happy to do, on the new senior center. We're working with involved staff members in preparation for an anticipated request to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit related to parking requirements for the multiple town facilities on the Gus Canny Community Center site. This work includes completion of a site survey and related engineering matters, as well as evaluations of each involved town building to determine occupancy calculations under the respective building and zoning code. And we're also working with town council, the finance director, and others in exploring the most appropriate procurement approach to designing and building the new senior center. Two options being reviewed are the construction manager at risk and the design bid build option. Each of these options has relative advantages and disadvantages, and this is being looked at in relation to actual experience in the Commonwealth with public building construction projects of similar size and complexity. And that is where we are at the present time. And in fact, we have another internal staff meeting yet this week on the matter of preparing for that ZBA request on parking.
Thank you.
Also, Madam Chair, I wanted to provide a bit of a storm summary, given the challenges we had on Friday, and I'll try to keep it brief, but I think it's important to confirm that, confirm what most of us are already aware of, that is depending on location between 2.25 and 4.25 inches of rain fell in Falmouth between 12 noon and 3 p.m. Enormous quantities. The initiation of the rainfall event occurred also in close proximity to a daily high tide, which greatly complicated and slowed down the natural drainage of this rain, particularly in areas nearby the coastline where we had some significant flooding. Some of these temporary road closures in multiple locations, including but not limited to Main Street from Gifford Street to Falmouth Heights Road in the mall, Sandwich Road in the area of Route 28, Davis Straits in the Falmouth Heights Road segment, Clinton Street in the King Street intersection, Terhune Drive and the Jones Road intersection, Fresh Pond Road and Barrows Road area, and multiple others too numerous to mention. There were also a number of flooding and washouts on many private dirt roads, as many of us are aware. There was a roadside washout along a section of Nobska Beach, causing erosion adjacent to the dune structure. These are all areas that Public Works is involved in doing some remediation on to bring back to normal working order. Also want to note that multiple vehicles were stranded in temporary high water, were damaged and had to be towed, including at least 2 private vehicles, and also 1 Falmouth police vehicle was involved as well and had to be towed. In addition, just to confirm, I know the board's aware of this, due to the heavy volume of rains, on Friday, the State Department of Marine Fisheries closed all areas of Falmouth as well as adjacent communities to shell fishing until further notice. And let's see, what else do I want to touch on? I was asked to give a little summary report on Goodwill Park. Essentially this has been reported to the board as well, but I wanted to note it publicly. This comes on the heels of some major challenges that the board will recall we encountered last year with a few unruly and disrespectful park patrons on a couple of occasions. And based upon that recent past, we have been anticipating a major influx of Goodwill Park visitors over the 4th of July holiday. And as the board is aware, we posted new sets of rules and regulations and made some physical changes as well in anticipation of it. And certainly over the 4th of July, actually on the 4th of July, Tuesday, July 4th, that influx actually did occur. Our estimate is that approximately 335 vehicles entered the park and used the facilities there on that day alone.
And I understand you You inspected it yourself.
Yes, I was going to touch on that, Madam Chair. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I did have that opportunity. Let's see. Yeah. I also understand that there were some reports from some individuals suggesting some chaotic behavior. That's my choice of terms there. But as you noted, Madam Chair, I personally visited Goodwill Park for a couple of hours during the peak attendance time on the 4th of July during the afternoon and closely observed conditions. While indeed we did have a large number of park visitors, as I noted, 335 vehicles, by and large, in my judgment, they were observant of reasonable decorum and their behavior was respectful. I personally observed park employees and police personnel assisting in the safe parking of visiting vehicles, and when a few occasions arose necessitating that a vehicle be moved or that a gathering occasionally became too loud, the park users responded respectfully and order and decorum was maintained. Yes, with such a significant attendance, a few issues invariably arise. And yesterday, I wrote this the day after the 4th of July, and the 4th of July was no exception. An example is that one vehicle became temporarily stuck in loose earth and spinning its wheels to access the friction of the catalytic converter ignited some dry leaves below the vehicle, which was fairly quickly extinguished with no further issue created. The lifeguards at the beach did an excellent job in maintaining safety and decorum among swimmers in the water. Toilet accommodations were reasonable. I visited the restrooms myself, although we will need to explore the provision of a few additional porta-johns at a couple locations. But by my observation, without exception, the park staff on hand did an excellent job, as did the police officer assigned to Goodwill Park by Chief Dunn, as well as the police cruisers, which occasionally conducted a drive-through. Staff members will be meeting further to explore some additional fine-tuning of physical conditions at Goodwill Park. By contrast, be aware that a check of Goodwill Park on Wednesday, July 5th, revealed only 12 vehicles parked there, as contrasted with 335. All in all, in my judgment, a very good response to the occasional heavy use of this exceptional town park, and my compliments to really our staff colleagues for the extraordinary job they did in maintaining a park in good repair, and also want to acknowledge the respectful behavior of those in attendance, including certainly duly noted a number of visitors to the town of Falmouth, and we're happy that they could be so well accommodated. So thanks for your allowing me to give that expanded report. Just taking a quick look to see if I've missed anything, and I believe I have not, unless the board has any questions. That concludes my report.
I just want to say I appreciate you taking the time and the initiative to actually go and observe it yourself.
Yes, thank you.
I was pleased that I was able to do that, and that my ever-busy colleagues were kind enough to let me know that it was a good time for me to come by, given the crowds that we had in attendance. So, all in all, but it was time well spent and time well served, and actually, our sons were visiting during that time, and my younger son, Michael, accompanied me and was very helpful in terms of my reviewing everything during that time period. So, glad I was able to do that. Thank you.
Oh, terrific. Peter, I have to just say, do you have anything to add?
I don't.
And that's the right answer.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your patience.
Hosting services for fctv.org are provided by MegaNet Communications. MegaNet offers a wide array of internet services, including Mega Backup Cloud Service, server colocation, T1, fiber, Metro Ethernet, as well as telephone services such as hosted PBX and digital voice. Their number one goal is to keep your communications network up and running and allow you to focus on growing your business. 877-634-2638 or meganet.net.